Gain control of cyber risk with Tenable.io, the first vulnerability management platform built for today's elastic assets like cloud, containers, and web apps. Discover a fresh, asset-based approach that prioritizes vulnerabilities while seamlessly integrating into your environment. And improve ROI with the first elastic licensing approach based on assets, not IP addresses. Tenable.io delivers the data and context you need to secure your elastic attack surface. Start your free Tenable.io trial today by visiting Tenable.io. Signal Sciences is the industry's first web protection platform that works in any cloud, any container, any platform as a service, and any modern application architecture. The Signal Sciences web protection platform can be deployed in next-generation WAF, RASP, or reverse proxy modes, giving customers ultimate flexibility and coverage. Protect your web applications with Signal Sciences web protection platform. Signal Sciences, protecting applications, connecting teams. For more information, check them out at signalsciences.com/PSW. Onapsis is the leading provider of solutions to protect ERP systems from cyber attacks. Customers can secure their SAP and Oracle business-critical platforms from espionage, sabotage, and financial fraud risks. Visit them on the web at onapsis.com. Welcome, everyone, to Paul Security Weekly. This is our technical segment for today. Before I jump into it, want to mention Domain Tools, domaintools.com/Security Weekly. Tim and Kyle will be presenting on how to find bad guys based on information from domains and IP addresses. They are the experts in this area. You should tune into that. So, This is Paul's printer hacking adventure. Couple things.
Dude, rocking it old school.
Rocking it, well, to the old schools, yeah.
Old school is the new school, right?
I should preface this with, other than, I believe the one newer piece of information is the completely automated way to basically capture all the print jobs going through the printer if your printer supports that. I don't know how long that's been out there. I want to say Heinz, Jens, is that Heinz?
Heinz, yeah.
Heinz,
I think so.
Heinz Mueller is the researcher, and he's the man when it comes to printer hacking. He's got some YouTube videos out there of him presenting. He's the man when it comes to this. I'm not the man that comes to this. I just read and took what little I knew about hacking printers because I had done some stuff before and read the documentation, such as the PJL documentation, which I highly don't. Well, I do recommend that you read it. I'm not saying you're going to be enthralled when you read it, because printer job language is, it's printer job language. So props to Heinz, hacking-printers.net. Basically, you can go there and do exactly what I did. He's automated a lot of the techniques. If you search for someone like the PJL commands, you'll find some other super cool techniques like those that come from one of your coworkers, Jack, at Tenable Network Security. Did you know this?
No, I did not know that.
His the best blog post I've ever read on printer hacking. Jacob Baines.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Jacob, you're the man. Just throwing that out there because I believe it to be true. You hacked some printers. You wrote a blog post for Tenable. Jacob has put forth and published a Python script that will essentially shovel a shell back to you if the printer runs Linux.
Nice.
And if it has Netcat. Bob, did not find a printer that had Netcat already installed. I suppose you can find one or compile one and upload it. That'd be interesting. But basically shovels a shell over Netcat from the printer, which I thought was really cool. And that blog post, the PGL documentation, hacking-printers.net, and are all in there, as well as Tenable, and the Shodan search for port 9100, which is the the ports you use to connect to the printer. So props to all those people, because I'm just really summarizing their research, and I just played around with some of the tools and techniques that you can do on printers. Now, one thing, I do recommend you go watch Heinz' YouTube video where he does the presentation. He basically starts at the beginning and kind of walks you through doing all of the printer command stuff, but starts with some interesting things that I don't know if you've ever sat there and thought about exactly how your printers work. Like most of us, I think, listening, fall in my camp where I freaking hate printers. Like they just are. We've
It's all
all
right.
been in the.
It's all right. They hate you too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They do. They do. And they
people that-
started it.
and
Damn
the
it.
People that hate the people that make printers hate you even more.
Yeah.
And you know who else hates printers? Boris Federlich. Sorry.
I thought he loved printers.
Well, he does. It's a love-hate relationship.
Oh, I see. So now, because
Depends on whether he gets to be on top.
Yes, exactly.
it's like so many inside Facebook jokes there. But so we all hate printers because we've worked in support roles where we had to support printers,
Just like Boris.
just like Boris, and so we hate them. But in any case, this is your chance to get back on them. There is a destroy command in there, which
So what is it? What did it do to your printer?
yeah, I so wanted to run it. And Sam, our director of operations, is like, don't do it. She's like, I need the damn printer. Don't do it.
What's Amazon's return policy?
Yeah.
Did I say
Red
that?
printer exploitation kit. Like,
Yeah,
do you think I'd have to
No.
Good-
What's wrong
good
with
thing-
that? Oh, stop
It's
working.
too bad there aren't big box store. No, that would be wrong.
That would be wrong.
That
Jeff.
would be wrong. That would be just.
Yeah, because I'm sure the support from printer manufacturers is great. You know what's other is interesting is that if you search on Shodan, again, the link's in the show note, Port 9100, you'll find some Samsung printers. Samsung has shut down their printer facility,
Yeah.
product support. I'm not sure how long they're going to support the printers. In other words, they're not motivated to fix printers because they've essentially said like this business unit is useless to
Port
us.
9100 and Samsung.
And Samsung is to
Destroy.
destroy. Yeah, it would be this,
Destroy.
this would be bad.
Bad. That would be bad.
This would be bad. So I don't know if you've thought about exactly how printers work. Like the driver, printer drive. I know it takes your document and puts it in a language. that the-
Printers work. Wait,
Yeah.
let's back up to say work. What?
So here's how you try to print, right? It takes your document, it puts it into a language that the printer can understand, and then the printer does those instructions and prints it out. So one of those languages is PJL. I wouldn't use language so much. It formats it in PJL, so to speak, and then prints it out, and PJL tells it what to do, how to format it.
PJL is what, print job language?
Printer job language, yes.
Okay, just checking.
Now-
I love the. I mean, there's such a mess.
It's horrible, dude.
So tangent back to worlds you've lived in, and I still do. When my weekly Nessus scans run off at the house, I had to add an exclusion for
no,
one of my
you
printers.
don't anymore, Jack. You didn't know this?
Oh yeah, no, because the weird specific printer I have, it prints one page with
Now-
one word on it, and my printer just spits out a page of paper.
No. According
help.
to my friend Jacob, Tenable released a Nessus plugin 100461 in late May to detect the vulnerability he talks about.
I've been on the road so much.
Yes. Also,
but-
changes were made so that Nessus no longer causes port 9100 to print during service discovery.
Right. So this was my standard full whatever, and I had the exclusions and all of that set up. But this was a weird version of an HP printer. It was an older, very old one, unsupported, but banned. Anyway, it would print a single page with the word "help" on it. And it's just creepy as
That's
as
pretty
hell.
funny, actually.
I would come back from like being
sounds
on the
like an
road
Easter
for
egg.
come back from being on the road for a month, and there would be 4 sheets of paper on my printer, and everyone
Help.
just said the word "help."
Now, the
Now,
other
dude, remember the story back in the day when I scanned with
yes, and
Nessus?
they kept feeding the paper.
Yeah, they
yes.
felt nearly
finally
a
fixed
box
that.
full of paper into the
Yes,
printer.
but they fixed that. At least Jacob says they fixed that, and I trust Jacob because he's awesome.
We've been like trying better and better detections, and it's been getting better through the
And
years.
But now here's
sad,
the thing.
sad part is you had to fix Nessus and not
in the instead of the printer, that's the yes.
It's not really a fix. It's a.
It's an
crutch.
obfuscation.
It's a crutch.
Yeah, it's an
It's
an
an exception to be made because Anyway, so the other language is, of course, Adobe's PostScript. Now, PostScript, which I didn't know, is a Turing complete language, which means there's like over 400 different operations, variable. Like it's a complete programming language.
The beauty is that Adobe takes security so seriously. I'm sure there are no issues.
Oh
to
dear
be
God!
exploited here.
I almost spit my drink onto my computer with that one.
So, what Heinz describes in his presentation is he's like, well, so this means that you can apply logic to the printer, make it execute PostScript every time something prints, which is why we started the show out the way we did, that for every print job going through the printer, you can apply logic and do things like search and replace text in the document on the fly as it's going through the printer. Looks great on your screen. After it passes through the printer, it gets your special modifications and does things like replace the word security with penis, which is how we came up with the opening skit
Paul's Penis
for
Weekly.
the show.
It's a really short show.
That's Paul's Penis Weekly. So that's just one of the attacks. Now, of course, you could be, and that's not the most devastating attack that you can do. Of course, you can manipulate those documents going through. You can also, using the printer exploitation.
Oh, you could fix all of you kids' writing style and put 2 spaces after a period. I just
and Oxford commas.
Oxford commas. You could take all those pesky Oxford commas out.
So you could purposely misspell
troll
things.
people that
you could
bad
add
over
zeros or
all
remove
the
zeros
English
from
majors,
numbers.
I'm sorry.
Oh, on check printers, put extra zeros.
Yeah, like think about what people print.
Yep.
Illegal documents with numbers, invoices.
Change 10,000 to change
million.
1,000 to 10,000 and add zeros.
Yeah, you could do that. So it's kind of, I mean, those are really not huge deals, or something that's going to happen every day in your network.
It's about to.
It's about to. Now, the other thing that you can do,
Mr. Beal, can you print my paycheck from for next week?
So, the other thing that you can do is you can watermark all of the documents going through it. That is a function built into pretty much every network connected printer on the market, is either through an image or through text that you put inside of, in this case, I believe it's PJL. Let's see if the cross command is here. I think it was PostScript that lets you do that. Yeah, unknown command. Hold on. Let me.
Should you be sharing your screen?
So my screen is back there, and they're going to put a camera on it due to technical difficulties. So I am going to connect to the printer.
Yay!
Via
autofocus. Yay!
Whoa! Someone hacked into our camera.
Dude,
come on now. This is a printer hacking segment, not a camera hacking segment.
Dude, I'm going to need more drugs.
Make it stop.
It was working for a second there, and then
autofocus.
It wasn't, and then it was, and then it wasn't, and then it was, and then it wasn't, and it's still not.
So I'm gonna. Mark's doing that because sometimes it takes a second. So I'm connected to our printer here in PostScript mode. So you get to choose PCL, PJL, or PostScript to connect to the printer. Now, I should also point out that you can do these commands manually using Netcat or whatever the case may be. And you can. Well, you know what I need to print something, but can you grab that printout in the that's out there already? So if you do help and then cross,
and this is using Pret.
Yes, this is using Pret. Pret really just is a framework to automate a bunch of attacks that have been out there for a while. Although, like I said, I think the capturing capability is only available in PostScript. In there, so basically, what you do is put graffiti on all the hard copies that are printed out. And again, this is more of like a prank, right? So like, don't do this. But it goes to show that there's no controls in these printers. If you can connect to port 9100, it depends on what languages are supported by the printer. Obviously, not every printer supports PostScript. But when you're in the cross command, you have to pick a font. Gunplay was the font that I picked before. You actually can't see the bottom of my screen there. Mark's going to come back and adjust the camera again. So when I type, I would do cross. And then I would do the font, which Gunplay, they're very strangely, excuse me, named fonts on the system. And once Mark does that, then you would print a message like all our base are belong to us, And then every time, I made a typo there. Every time something is printed, it would print that message. Now, do you have that piece of paper, Mark? No, the one that is this one right on the whiteboard, already printed from before.
We don't believe it if it's pre-printed. You got to do it.
Well,
live.
it is. It's going live now. If we can cut to if someone prints something from the printer, if someone can print something, because I'm not.
We have a camera on the printer.
We have a camera on the printer, so if someone prints
right.
something, it should print my message that I worked very hard on creating. I don't know if we
That's
can-
classy as hell, by the way.
But now,
That is
did
just classy
you hit
as-
enter on your command, Paul?
No, I didn't. And
Okay.
this is my message from before, that every time you print on our printer, it prints the 8 with the equal signs and the D in the tildes. I don't know what that means. I just randomly selected.
You
the
mashed it.
8
You mashed
with
the keyboard.
Yeah, I mashed the keyboard, and that was. Now you can see we have a document on the printer, so if we can hold up that document, yes, you can see. Hold it down lower, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. That gets printed on everything that comes out of the printer. I hope that's not like a. Anyway,
Contracts.
this is like that's like
It's all your. It's all your
an
passwords.
invoice.
It's all your passwords. It's all your passwords.
That's a password file. It's fine. So, if we go back to my screen, and since I'm connected in.
But did you change it to all your base are belong to us?
No, I didn't. I could. It just
Right.
I thought that's what we were going to see.
Yeah.
Oh, I can change it to that. So it would be cross, and then Gunplay is my font. All our base.
all
belong-
your base are belong to us. But
all-
whatever. It's fine. No, don't.
All
Keep going.
All your
Complete with
thank you.
typo. I mean,
All
make
your
sure then we know it's
base
really you.
belong to us. Okay. Yeah, and it says it fails the first time because it's a printer, and they suck. So I had to run it again, and then now when you print, the overlay should be all your base all belong to us. Now.
Sam, please print.
Print something else while I'm doing something else here. So the capture command is really interesting. So basically, you capture star, and it uses PostScript to whatever sent to the printer, makes a copy of it, saves out a file, and then lets you retrieve that file later. I have not gotten it to work because this printer, like if I do ls, doesn't have a writable file system inside of the firmware. There's lots of ways to enumerate that. The info command is very useful. I'll show you the help on the info command.
It's incredibly useful.
Or not.
It's incredibly useful.
Meanwhile, back at the printer.
Oh, no, sorry. I need to connect in the other mode for that. Hold on.
Meanwhile,
Oh, and you need to reset your terminal because it messes up your terminal. Yeah, I hate that.
and what did you do to
PGL.
reset the terminal?
Reset. Okay, so now I'm connected in PJL mode. And there's lots of info commands. So you can do info file.
I take
sys.
exception to that pen testing tool that made dumpster diving obsolete.
Yes.
Dumpster diving will never be
Never obsolete. I agree.
Never.
Take it up with Heinz. Okay, so when I do info file system, it comes back with parentheses, question mark, parentheses. So, or quotes rather.
Right.
So what that means in PJL world is like command not found or operation not understood or whatever that is doesn't exist.
Yep.
So
Dunno.
if you do debug, which is awesome, debug is great for learning, and then you do info file sys. Okay, it gives you the PJL command that it used to generate that, right? So this is obviously doing PJL info file sys, and
Yep.
it's returning the question mark, which in PJL means
Dunno.
Dunno. I got that from the documentation. I'm like, oh, so it doesn't have a file system. That really sucks and limits your capturing capabilities. But there's how you test for it in here. So now let's see what else I got here.
This would have been.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
So so if it does have a file system, it'll come back with this output right here, and it'll list out all of the volumes. I'll make that bigger for you. So it'll list out all of the volumes. Some printers have more than one volume.
Yep.
Sometimes the RAM is listed as a volume. Sometimes there's multiple volumes. You can change volume with the chval command to change volumes and navigate around the file system with CD and LS as you normally would. You can use get and put to get files, put files just like you would over FTP, except it's all happening on your printer. Sometimes you can find interesting configuration files with it, just without dumping NVRAM, which is the other method. So there is, I forget if it's in PGL or PostScript mode. I think it might be in PGL mode, NVRAM dump. So in this one, it doesn't dump the RAM, but if there is a printer that does have dumpable RAM, it'll actually dump out the contents of NVRAM. Inside of there,
Interesting.
you can find, for your penetration testing purposes, Larry, Active Directory
I was just gonna
credentials,
say.
FTP credentials, all kinds of interesting credentials inside the memory of a printer. And who the hell is doing incident response and forensics and paying attention to the PGL PostScript commands being run on their printers? Practically no one, including about 134,000 printers exposed to the internet, according to Shodan on port 9100. Okay, so that's the NVRAM, and you can see the info file sys. Oh, and then there's a fuzz, excuse me, fuzz path command. So this is just like a little fuzzer built into the printer exploitation toolkit. It basically goes out there and tests for certain directories.
Yep.
You can see on this particular printer I was testing earlier.
There's a web server.
It does. It does have some directories that you can then navigate and poke around on some of the file systems. Fuzz blind fuzzes for standard files that might exist. And you can see in this one, there's a dot profile.
Yep.
And there's another file. And Etsy password did exist. And you can see there's a root user. And you can see that's a couple of levels down. There's actually an etc directory.
Yep.
In the in one tree up, and then
From
you
where
got to
you
go
are.
another tree up, and there's a different Etsy directory, and that has the password file.
Yep.
So
Yep, interesting. I remember back in the day when we were using Hijetter, we had the ability to upload files and all that stuff. And one of the printers that I had at work, you were able to upload files to the web server directory.
yes,
And actually uploaded an HTML page and an image of the Larry Pesci Has a Posse type of thing,
Yes.
and serve that from the printer.
yes,
If the printer's still in use, it's probably still there.
it's
Just
still
sad.
there.
Just
It's
sad.
awesome. So you can see the info status, and what's interesting is that Shodan actually runs this command on the printers that it's scanning.
Oh, God.
And you can see the status. Like, I can tell you that some printers on the internet are low on toner. Some have no paper in the paper tray, so it'll actually display the status.
But Paul,
of the
that's
printer.
not saying much. Printers are always low on toner.
Right. It's
True.
a scam.
It's a scam.
It is a scam. Okay, so obviously the capturing of the print jobs is the in PostScript mode is really, I think, the most devastating attack that we've talked about here. With access to the web server, as you mentioned, Larry, if you were able to read and write files, of course, you can put attack files on the web server. You can read the web server configuration file and do some things there. You can manipulate the print jobs as they go through the printer. Of course, capturing them is kind of where it's at. So, again, 134,000 on the internet. If you use Jacob's method, you can obtain a remote shell on the printer. And he describes that here in detail. A very limited command set on these printers as well. On some of them, if you look at the binaries that exist, you've got like ls, cd, bash.
Would you argue it's a very stripped down BusyBox implementation?
I don't even know if it's BusyBox. Like the Linux on it was some weird version of Linux I had never heard of. And it varies per printer. Again, we're using PGL or PostScript to connect to port 9100 because that's a language that the printer understands. And we're basically creating a PGL or PostScript shell. They're able to execute commands. So you can do everything that those languages allow you to do. If you want to execute Linux commands, very, very limited. Like there's no cat, which, that's very nice. Paul's social security number. It's really,
Wow.
Really
Witness protection program?
yes.
But wait, it didn't have all your base or belong to us across it.
It didn't. I'm not sure why that is, but you saw my number 8 and all of my equal signs that were printing before. So that was my big, kind of splash for this particular attack was to put that text on there. Now, also, since I overlaid that text using PostScript, it will only get printed by clients that print PostScript, which is probably why when that document was printed, it was printed using some other method, PJL or some other direct PDF. There's multiple languages that the printers speak, and that's why it didn't show up. It will only print in PostScript. I had to create another copy of my printer on my Mac and tell it to use PostScript to print, and that's how I was able to do that. So, again, all of the resources are there on hacking-printers.net. And Heinz categorizes all of these attacks, memory access, file system access. There's some interesting things that I didn't really show. Obviously, there's the physical damage and destroying the printer, which I don't recommend that you do. It essentially fills up the queue of the number of copies that are being printed and prevents you from printing. That particular one doesn't do physical damage. There are some that, of course, do physical damage as well. So those are in the basically long-term settings for the printers. So, I mean, it is physical damage. Basically fills up NVRAM and doesn't allow you to print anymore, effectively rendering the printer useless, which is kind of interesting.
So, Paul, I have a question.
Sure. Go ahead, Jeff.
Have you taken a look, or would you take a look at what HP has done to address all this? Because, if you recall, I visited them earlier in the year.
Yes.
And they claim to have done all sorts of things to improve print security. And my recollection is, and my memory is rusty, is that they touched on a lot of this stuff that you're talking about.
So the printer we have here in the office is a brand new HP printer with, I believe, the latest firmware.
Right,
So-
but you need to pay for the hardening package, which you probably didn't.
Oh, I did not pay for the
Pay
hardening
for the hardening
package.
package.
I think security should be baked in.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation with the multifunction printer provider like 12, 14 years ago, back when I worked for a living. But before I joined Vendor Space is what I mean.
Yes.
They dumped a bunch of machines in the organizations I worked with, and everything was open.
Oh, there is.
Well, yeah, Paul, did you port scan your new printer to see what it was listening on?
I did not. I only needed port 9100.
And for the record, if you Shodan search port 9100, there are 132,389 entries.
Right. I don't think my printer supports locking. If we can switch to my output there. One of the mechanisms, Jeff, that would prevent this would be to apply a lock to the printer. This is typically a 3-digit code. So there's a couple of different things. There's pin protection, a panel lock, and a disk lock. This particular software supports brute forcing, as it's just a 3-digit 3-digit pin, and that's built into the printer exploitation kit. So you can unlock the printer, and then they also give you the facility to lock it, so you could conceivably lock people out.
And for the record, of those 132,000 printers, there are just over 8,500 of those in China.
Interesting. I thought the number would be much higher than that.
Yeah.
That seems low.
But 67,000 of them are in the U.S.
That seems low.
And 13,000 of them are in the Russian Federation.
Yes. So,
Shenanigans!
any...
I
I do hope this does, to Jeff's point, help raise awareness on printers. I really think that it's kind of been a novelty, and there are a lot of novelty things that I covered. I think that the capturing of print jobs via PostScript, which is what Heinz really was the researcher behind that, I believe, that really kind of raises the bar because you can do that so stealthily. It's still opportunistic. Right? It's not as good as domain admin. I was thinking about, it's not domain admin. Don't get me wrong, it's not domain admin. But to be able to silently sit on a printer and capture the print jobs, I think it's a pretty dangerous thing. And I think that should raise the bar.
If you think about what people print,
Right.
there's some crazy stuff.
Oh, hey, I need an updated password list. Domain admin.
Yep.
I mean,
And some of the RAM settings could leak hashes.
Absolutely. And those configuration files could either leak hashes or plain text passwords or all sorts of crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And is it wrong that I just searched Shodan for port 9100 in Guam?
No.
There are no results, by the way. Just in case you're
I like how you also have a paid account.
Of course
Why
I
would
fucking
you
do.
not have a paid account, Shodan?
Dude, why would I not?
Why would you only want to see the first 2 pages of results?
I want to see all 132,000.
Take my money.
And have API access. Of course I would. Come on, this is relevant to what we do for work.
It is. It is.
And
It's awesome.
I think I got my account back when it was like lifetime subscription when they were first starting.
Nice.
And it was like $30 for a lifetime type
That's
thing. And best $30 I ever spent, or whatever it was.
Absolutely.
Could have been $400 and the best $400 I ever spent.
So that's Paul's printer hacking adventures. With that, we can take a short break, come back, talk about the security news.
The penis
for this
of the week.
the penis news
Of the week.
week.